Welcome, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. So today we're going to talk about the fourth industrial revolution. All right, how to adapt your business to the inevitable digital transformation. And today I have a guest speaker, Kanan Cheta, from MD of Advance, which is essentially a HR and a fintech company that's looking into things like background checks, as well as things like training, as well as KYC for screening your employees. So he'll be the first speaker for today. And with this, I'd like to introduce Kanan. Kanan,
Thanks, Johan.
Kanan, you can take over from here.
Yeah,
Right.
great. Hi, how are you guys doing? Thanks for patiently waiting. And I think it's nice to see this number of people attending amidst the nail-biting US elections. I'm sure everyone is trailing the numbers, right? So I think that's more exciting. So thanks for making time. Let me share my screen. So this is the second time I'm doing a joint webinar with Just Login. The one, if you have attended the last one, it was about importance of background checking before you hire people. So this time I'm going to be focusing on another key business pillar of Advance, which is on digital transformation. So before I go on talk about it, I think it's important for you to know a little bit more about me. Why? Because very simple. Digital transformation, I think in Google is the most abused word. Everybody uses it. Any simple digital initiative, they call it digital transformation. Until for people who are real practitioners like us who actually leverage these technologies for our businesses, in terms of consulting for companies, and when we hear people using these words so loosely, it is pretty annoying, right? So which is why I think it's important for you to know why do I have a better ownership of talking about this topic, right? So very quickly, so my background, born and bred, based in Singapore, but I've lived out in Canada, Poland, and the US in different parts of my career. Mainly technology companies, but again, in commercial positions. But technology is something which completely turns me on, even at a timing like 3 p.m. in the afternoon. So that's something which I try to think about in every aspect of my business, right? And if you again Google my name, it's quite easy to find me. I do talk about importance of working with the right people, hiring right people, why people need to be enhanced, what is digital transformation, what does it do for businesses, why do you need to be unskilled, reskilled, and upskilled to be future ready. In fact, it's no more future, right? Now it's digital. We're already in digital 4.0 already, so it's not about future ready and all that. So I'm sure there's a lot of webinars. Some of you already might have some webinar fatigue hearing this topic, but I think this time, which is why this is not going to be a typical webinar. I'm going to make it interactive. So you're going to do work because 3 to 4 is a tough period, right? It's a time when your blood circulation slows down a little bit, processing of food. So this is a good time to do some hands-on. So I'm going to make you do some hands-on, right? And I promise it'll be fun. And again, because of my technical entrepreneurship work, and the work I've done for my company, Avance, in terms of leveraging tech, we ended up talking about it and working and helping other companies and other people achieve or maybe kick off in the journey of digital transformation. I'm only going to do one slide on Avance. I think it's important at least to do some justice for the company I'm leading. So I founded this company along with 2 other co-investors in 2016, on April Fool's Day, not to fool anyone, because we're 4.5 years old, going to be 5 years very soon. And it's got 3 business pillars. So screening is the first pillar. It is really to, we have built a solution which has won awards for us globally to help companies ensure they hire the right people, right? So you can do a complete background check on anyone across 150 plus countries. So that's what I talked about in the last joint webinar with Just Login, which was heavily attended. I think it was even a larger audience. By that time, there were no elections, so I guess everybody was more tuned to this. But anyway, it's recorded, so those who are missing it out can watch it later. And then after you screen people, you need to onboard them, which is where how to use technologies to make sure that people are completely aligned with the company's vision, mission, goals, and all that. And then you train and develop them using, a mix of e-learning, synchronous like this, or asynchronous self-directed learning. And it could be in any area of skills, but there's a lot of ways to embrace technology to learn, because no one likes to learn in a very passive way anymore. So the watching a guy talking for for a day is not going to be learning anymore, right? It's going to be highly interactive, which is what we do. So HR tech plus fintech company, plus we also run government-funded training programs. So we are also an official approved training organization. So at least for the work we do in Singapore and some other countries, we do get funded. Today we have presence around the globe, across US, Europe. We just opened up in Caribbean and of course Asia. So for a Singapore HQ company, we really embrace digitalization from day one, which is what got us very successful around the globe. And I'm going to share some secrets, right? What you can do for yourself as well. So before that why this digital transformation? So I like to call it DT in short. Digital transformation using disruptive tech. But before I go on to do this, right, there's a little poll I want to pull up. Just log in, team. Can you pull up the poll? Which the question about to what extent do you think your business is digitally transformed? Be honest to yourself, right? If it's 0 to 30%, it is 0 to 30%. If you think yourself or your business is already transformed to a certain extent, fantastic, then it's only 100%, right? So let's give you about 30 seconds. It's very easy. Just click tick, and then we'll do the poll. And then I will give the team to process it for a while, and then and then later they flash the results. So to what extent your business is digitally transformed, you think, right? Of course, different people in the business might think it's transformed to different extent, because maybe your business unit is more transformed than the other business unit. Maybe you think there's a lot more room to grow. We are still very paper-based. We're still very manual. Our workflows are very slow, not very efficient. We're not well integrated. We maybe acquired a lot of other companies, but everyone doing their own silo things. We're not transformed, right? So if that is what it is, then that's a percentage you should put. All right. So this is not a US polling percentage, huh? This is a business transformation percentage. Okay, so while you're doing that, probably another 15 seconds, they can close it. It'd be nice to see if everyone goes on the poll. We've already got more than 60 people on in this webinar. So there's several aspects you need to think about, right? So do you even think you or your colleagues or your management or your company have acquired a digital growth mindset? Are you digitally ready? I think COVID definitely helped to fasten the digital transformation, which is great. Will Industry 4 dimensions like AI, robotics, blockchain, do you think this will change the job nature of your workforce? Do you think chatbots are going to take away some of the client services team's job? Do you think RP is going to take away some finance or data entry jobs? So, this is something to think about. The third one. So let's just do this one by one, right? So this is done. Okay, next one. Do any of your roles you think need to be repurposed? Maybe because of the transformation, some of the jobs have to be realigned, must be digitally transformed. So because of that, you need to understand what's out there. There's too many jargons out there, right? Maybe sometimes you find it hard to comprehend. So that's another thing you need to consider. Do you think you need to be aware of digital technologies to make you productive? I think this is one topic. Maybe if I asked the question before COVID, a lot of people would say, yes, we do not know much enough. But I think now, a lot of you working from home, are taking turns to go to office. I'm sure you're already been using a lot of digital technologies and a lot of tools, right? Like Zoom like this to connect, or Teams, or you could have a cam scanner to scan your documents. Don't have to go to office to scan. You could be using an Otter.ai tool to convert your text to audio, or you could be even doing things like tools like dictation tools to help you type emails. You could be using MindMeister for interesting mind mapping. So there's a lot of tools which I have tons of it to share, which could make you more productive. But I'm sure now you're a lot more productive remotely and digitally compared to pre-COVID, right? That's why in Avance we call COVID as Avance as a COVID team. So we call it companies virtually deployed team. So CO stands for company, VI stands for virtual, D is for deployed. So we call Avance as a COVID team, right? Does your company have a digital vision? If so, how far are you, right? If you don't even, a lot of companies I'm training and working with now, even the very large companies, a lot of them don't have a digital vision. Usually when I start off the discussion, they don't even know what is the current vision. They usually have to Google. I'm sure some of you are culprits. You don't know your company's vision, right? So if you know it by heart, I mean, you should know it in the middle of the night. If you wake up, you must say, oh, this is my vision. These are my core values, right? That's how much you should have sunk into your head and your heart, right? If you don't have it, then you got to build it. You got to build a digital vision, right? Do you want to have a fundamental digitalization training for your people? So digitalization is not for technical people only. It's not, doesn't belong to the innovation department, doesn't only belong to the CEO or CTO or COO. Digitalization belongs to everyone. I've worked with companies where in the same classroom, I've seen from the receptionist or even security all the way to the CEO in the same call, in the same training. So digitalization is for everyone, every industry, right? Do you think you need to build a digital strategy blueprint, right? A canvas map, like a capstone project, right? For you to build a digital strategy map to sort of fasten your digitalization journey, right? Okay, at this point, I want to stop sharing and I want to see the results of the little poll that you guys took, all right? All right, so it looks like a majority of you are still in the 0 to 30% bucket, but maybe it's quite close to 31 to 50, which is comforting. But it's disappointing that no one thinks you are in the 70 to 100%. So that's brutal. Okay. So hopefully, but after this, you'll be convinced that you need to digitalize more, right? I think there's a lot of room to digitalize yourself and your business and your company, right, who you work for. So I call COVID a catalyst. Of course, COVID is a disease. It's not good. It's killing people by millions, but I think it's a catalyst. In countries like Singapore, where we are, you see, when I started this digitalization training 4.5 years back, I started with the US, Europe, and even in Asia, countries like China, Vietnam went first. Singapore, a lot of them were not ready. So although we are a first world country, a lot of the times our mindset is very third world. I mean, you know how long it took us to become cashless. Only now people don't want to touch cash. Suddenly a lot of shops are saying, oh, we don't accept cash. These are the same restaurants or shops used to say only cash is allowable, right? So this is why I think it's so much room for our country, right, to transform. And even if you go back to the pre-COVID world, which is not the same world, all of us know it, we need to have a certain digitalized process. Okay, it's not just the people's mindset; it's also across all the processes, right? So it's every industry. I work with so many industries, more than 12 different industries, big referenceable clients. And I can tell you, it's something which is changing the landscape of many, right? Even in the boxing world, even recently the MMA, if you've attended it, I did it. It was virtual. It was very different. The usual music and rara wasn't there, but it was a virtual event, largely virtual, right? And I am part of the IMDA committee as well with Mr. Ishwaran, and we always talk about digitalization and how we can bring this into broadcast media. How can people talk about it? I also mentor a lot of startups on many platforms. You can find all that on my LinkedIn page. And a lot of them, some of them are struggling, and those are the ones, the businesses are widely affected. 8 in 10 startups or companies close down. Thousands of people are getting jobless, which is why this is a good time to pivot your business or to think about what kind of skills you need. You need to be on par. If you can't talk this language, blockchain, very complex. Cloud computing, what is it about? AI, what is the difference between machine learning, deep learning? All that is very intimidating. If that's what you're saying to yourself, then you need to wake up, right? So before that, just get a quick term. We see this industry 4.0 term used all the time, right? It's something which comes up every day in the papers, in the news. Every single day, there's a digitalization word being used, a topic. So we are the fourth industrial stage right now, right? This is where internet and physical systems are talking together, right? You can remote control your air conditioning before you come to your house. That's IoT. You can remote control your vacuum cleaner. That's robotics. So there's a lot of things happening in the fourth industrial revolution. And this article I've written, inspired by World Economic Forum, where these are skills that you need as well, right? So it's a lot of the time. As I say, one of the businesses of Avance is the training pillar. And we see a lot of companies saying that, we need people to have more, problem-solving skills, computational thinking, more technical entrepreneurship or entrepreneurship skills. Everybody needs to work like an entrepreneur, if not an entrepreneur, right? So these are also skills very important for you to think about beyond the technical skills, like, whether you want to go into coding, whether you want to, the best paid jobs are now data scientists, cybersecurity. When we do the background checks, we see all the kind of people going through. I see a lot of influx of IT specialists. So these are the hot jobs, right? But there's always a lot of demand for, service professionals, sales professionals, and now you need to be in the top notch. If not, you're going to be one of those guys trying to look for a job if you're in between jobs, right? And Industry 4.0 dimensions, right? These 9 are pretty complex sounding: robots, blockchain, AI, IoT, cloud, cyber, 3D printing, or they call it additive manufacturing, big data. So very intimidating, but there's a way to really simplify all this and to quickly understand what's all this, know all the jargons, and then how to leverage this for your business, right? So we have done this. Again, this is not a webinar for me to share with you on or sell you a training program. It's more of to share with you what you should be knowing. Whoever you work with, doesn't have to be with Avans or just Logan. Whoever you go with, right? Make sure there's an interactive experience, and all these can be replicated even on a virtual environment like this. And I'm going to give a little bit of taster on that. So big data analytics, very complex topic, right? Any workshop you go to, at least a minimum 3 days to understand it. So this is the time I'm going to give you a little bit of activity. All right. So alternate tab away from the elections page. Come to this page now. Okay, look at my slide. There are 3 branches here, and this is actual case study here. And I'm a big follower of WEF, so that's why I pull a lot of inspiration from there. It's a European bank, right, with 3 branches in the same town, right? The dots here, right, represent people. The dots represented people. So they had actually sort of sensors to track the movement of the people. These are all employees, not the customers in the bank branches, right? Or the 3 branches. So a dot, if it's a line here, means these guys are moving. There's some movement between these guys. If it's a very dark line, there's a lot of movement and communication going on. So of course, the communications are looking very different in all 3 branches, right? So usually in my class, I ask you all to circle here and annotate, but I think it's going to get messy with this huge crowd here. So I'm going to open up the poll, and you're going to tell me out of these 3 branches, which branch you think had the best performance. Again, the dots represent the employees in the bank, not the customers, right? And then the lines represent the movements. So 3 branches, similar town. So there's no variables here like different city, different customer base. No. Which branch do you think had the best performance? I'm going to give a minute on it. Polling team, can we, just login team, can we open up the polls? Yes. So which branch do you think had the highest performance? 1, 2, or 3? Only one answer. Right, you can't choose more than one. That's called spoil vote. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to quickly check what's the latest. Oh wow, 2025 versus 2013. Definitely nail biting. Okay, 40 more seconds. Which branch do you think had the highest revenue performance? Okay, let me define that. Performance in terms of revenue. So one of the branches came out to be more than 11% performance increment over the others, which is big in the European banking numbers. All right, 25 more seconds. My clock works a bit faster, as you can see. And I need to make sure I have enough time for the next speaker as well, so that I don't become a hogger. All right, 12 more seconds. So which branch you think had the best performance, right? 6 more seconds. And I'm going to leave it to the Just Login team to close it up. So here you can see, before we look at the results, here you can see there's a good movement of people, right? Everybody seems to be engaged. Everyone's talking to each other. Some lines are darker. Maybe there's more working relationship between them, not other relationships. This one is good. There's good communication going on. There's good communication going on here as well. But across, not so good. There's a bit of a clan behavior, right? This is one clan, this is another clan. So this was because the particular bank had 2 levels. So people up and down were not, going up or going down for communications. Maybe they're just chatting on the phone, but that's not good enough, right? So there was not enough cross-floor collaboration. So eventually the bank decided to have the entire office laid out as one branch, right? Okay, what about the last one? The last one, who do you think these three people are? You can put in the chat. Who do you think these three guys are? Anyone? I always get quite interesting answers on this. Who do you think the three guys are? You can put in the chat. Don't have to be so quiet on the chat. CEO. Okay, what else? Bosses. So I always get this first. People always think that the bosses, right, are these guys, which is very sad, right? That means they are not doing MBWA. You know what's MBWA, right? Management by walking around. They are not communicating. So they're only talking to the Mishu, the secretary. So if you begum or not very good relationship with this secretary, you are screwed forever, right? So that's bad. So this is bad. So thankfully, all right, these three are not the bosses. Okay, whatever. Besides what you guys are saying, these three are actually new joiners of the company who are not well integrated with the company. So the HR did do a very good job in integrating them, which is why they are not well integrated. The other thing is, well, some of the lines are darker, so there are actually some conflicts as well. Or maybe they're Laotian, right? Always gossiping and chatting about Korean drama and all that. So maybe there's too many dark lines. So now can we flash the screen, the results? Can we see the results? Which is the best? Okay, close fight. So branch one, yes, and it's correct. Branch one is the answer. A lot of people chose branch three, interestingly. So branch one actually came out to be the best branch in terms of revenue performance compared to branch two and three, given the problems I talked about. So of course, for branch three, they went ahead with better, tighter onboarding program. This kind of data visualization. So data analytics has many divisions, which we usually cover in our 2-day course. But data visualization, this is something your Excel cannot give you. This is your basic tools will not give you. You need like very powerful data visualization tools which can give you. Imagine what you can do with this kind of data visualization, the kind of things you can be analyzing, the kind of things you're not analyzing now, which you can analyze next time. So that is the power of big data. All right, so a little hands-on for you on that. And I'm sure you've heard of the term deep learning, machine learning, AI, and a lot of the times, a lot of companies, they sell AI, they sell an AI vendor, but when you look at it, right, it's just deep learning. So you need to know the difference. Deep learning is speech and image. So based on my voice and my wrinkled face, if you can recognize this as Kanan, then you know that's deep learning. But if it's machine learning, then that's where all the statistics, where machine learns. If you Google Sophia the robot, you will see that she gets very smart day by day. She's not speaking in public forums. She's actually a global citizen. Saudi Arabia gave her citizenship. Why? She's machine learning. She's sponging and learning equivalent to millions of babies, right? So she's learning and learning and learning, gets very smart. That's machine learning. When you start building in logical rules, like if Kanan says this, I should ask him back this, right? That kind of difficult workflows, that only happens in our AI. So deep learning is a subset of machine learning. Machine learning is a subset of AI. I hope this is very clear to you. If there's one thing you don't remember from today, then at least remember this one, right? So this gives you very good insight on what is the difference. And these are all very heavily technical. There are a lot more technical terms, which we will debug for you, right? So now a little game. Flash your handphone, pick up your handphone. Sorry, you shouldn't use the word flash so much. Pick up your handphone and then go to this link and play with this. Your kids will love it, right? Those who have kids, even adults love it. And play with this game and then tell me whether this game, is this a deep learning product or a machine learning product or an AI product. So deep learning means by scanning your image, it's able to tell you what it is. Machine learning is when it's able to learn from your image and is able to educate the next guy who's going to draw the same image. That is machine learning. Whereas AI is, of course, the more complex workflows like your Google, Assistant and all that, right? So in this case, this tool, is it maybe the Just Login team can just put this link in the chat for everyone's benefit. So this is a deep learning, machine learning, or AI, right? So let me also see anyone's putting any comments, any questions. Yeah, feel free to put in your questions. No one's putting in questions. Usually by this time, there should be tons of those questions. So go and get your copy very quickly. Yeah, so I'll let you play, all right? And I'm already starting to see answers. People are typing in the answers, I think, all right? So I'll let you play and later I'll tell you the answer, all right? So in these 24 images, what can you tell me about these 24 images? Anyone? What if I tell you these 24 images are all fake, right? So that is the power of AI. So every technology, right, there's pros and cons. There's advantages, there's also disadvantages, right? And that's something you need to know as well. So which means more and more scandals, right? You've got more in Singapore already. A lot of people are affected by cyber scandals, siphoning, lots of money to people who look very real, love scandals. I can tell you, it's going to make even more because now you don't have to use a model space. You can generate a real image using AI. Right? So when you go, I just give a little bit teaser, right? And all the kind of technologies, of course, blockchain, all that. You got a lot more nicer games to play. For that, you got to go for the class. But sorry, couldn't help it. But this 8-step digital transformation model is what we take you through, and this is what you should consider. Feel free to take a shot. I'm not going to patent this, so because I'm constantly refining it anyway. So coming up, when you start a digital vision and then think about who are your stakeholders in your business, what is the environmental analysis you have to do, both micro and macro, and then start building your priorities, your business case, your digital strategy. What are the resources out there? In Singapore, there's a lot of government funds for SMEs and non-SMEs. What are the KPIs you want to reach, right? You want to increase your revenue, reduce your costs, make yourself more efficient. And then once you evaluate your success, how do you do continuous process improvement? So there's a very methodical, very systematic 8 steps digital transformation model, which is what you should consider when you finally arrive at your digital strategy canvas map. Let me do a time check, right? So digital strategy canvas map, this is what you should build eventually, right? So also you can take a shot of it, no problem. So if you've not started on this journey of digital transformation, start it quickly. Avance as a company, today we have about 30 odd people across the globe, but any other company of our revenue size easily has 4 times the number of people. Why we're able to work with 1/4 of that is really because we've automated a lot of the workflows. We've leveraged chatbots. So if you go to my website, you will see chatbot talking to you. We'll see we've leveraged blockchain. We're going to launch a huge product in December. We're going to be able to verify fake certificates in seconds, if not microseconds. We do a lot of data analytics and data visualization, like what I showed you. We even use mixed AR and all that for some of the training programs. So lots and lots of technology, and this is what I've shared with other companies as well. Some big brands I've worked with globally, right? And I'm still working with them because usually when they start off with the transformation, they ask us to do it for everyone. So from pantry auntie all the way to CEO, some have even brought it up to the board level. So even the board level goes through this. So only then everybody gets transformed. Then you'll be thinking, oh, is this going to be a costly exercise to train everyone? I don't have the budget. So not to worry. For Singapore companies, for those dialing in from other countries, we can talk, right? Just log in and I would love to catch up with you to work out a proposal for you. But for those in Singapore extra lucky, you do have, this is under Skills Future. So if you put digital transformation using disruptive technologies in Skills Future, you'll see it. It's net fee based, so it's heavily funded. In fact, on a net level, you might even get funds back. So if you're an SME, for example, until end of the year, there is a $10 per hour funding, and you actually get back money, right? So that's great. So the government is amazing in Singapore, right? Like many other governments in the region, where they help you to train. You help you to train yourself and the company. So whether you're an individual or whether you're part of a company, there's a grant for everyone. So my team has gone through it. I've gone through it. So there's an upcoming class on the 17th, 18th November. And we have opened it up for you. It's already getting fast filled. There's another one in December as well. You can sign up, and what you've gone through today, you will have a taste of it on the in this 2-day workshop as well. If you like a contextualized, customized, localized version for your company, that means it's purely for you, then that's something we do as well. So that's something we can build for you, and that's what most companies, corporates end up doing eventually. But if you want a taster, this is the one you want to go for. But in the meantime, digital transformation, I've given you a little teaser. You play a couple of games. By the way, I'm sure you're playing these games, right? So how was it? Can anyone tell me whether this is a deep learning product or machine learning or AI? How come no answers here? Okay, you're still playing. Okay, so the answer is this is actually a deep learning product, right? It's using deep learning technology to scan what you draw, and it's able to tell you what it is, right? A lot of such games I have in stock, all right, but I can't give away everything in this short session. So I'm now going to hand over to the Just Login team. Guys, take over. In the meantime, any questions? I'll be still hanging around. See you guys. Take care.
Thank you, Kanan. I hope that was very useful for everybody. I think it was definitely eye opener for me as well. Especially, I like the part about the different branches and their movement. So thank you. So just which is a good segue for me to bring us into the Just Login's involvement in digital transformation and some of the areas that we're gonna be thinking about, some of the areas we're evolving our business to. So for all those of you who are not aware, Just Login has been in the market for about 20 years. So the company was started in year 2000. So over this 2000, this 20 years, we have seen a lot of changes, right? In the past, it was just about how to build a very fancy web page, how to build maybe a few simple data entry on a web page and to get people to use it. So, however, what we've seen is that over the years, this internet that we base our platform on has a lot more mature and a lot more exciting, and the technology development has just exploded, that we are now looking into how to incorporate all these new trends, new technologies, and how to infuse that into our core product that I believe Just Login has invested quite a bit on R&D in to try to get things going for to help companies adopt this digital transformation. Okay, next page. So it's a quick introduction about myself. My name is Chan Chao Hao. I'm the COO of Just Login. So, in fact, a few things that some companies might not be aware of is that we have been practicing remote work from home for remote employees as far as way about a couple of years back, 3 or 4, 5 years back when we started having our first few engineers outside of Singapore, our whole designers outside of Singapore and Philippines and in Myanmar and so forth. And actually 30% of our workforce is actually working from home before COVID started. So during that process, we figured that the for us, we feel that talent pool in Singapore is limited, and we could actually leverage on the fact that a lot of talent out there outside Singapore, and that gives us a new opportunity to tap into a bigger talent pool to help us build the next generation of products. But to deal with these employees that's outside of the country, we have to think outside the box. What are the tools, technologies out there available for us to extend? So we ourselves go through a digital transformation journey. So we start looking at IP phones so that our remote employees can actually deal with those as well. So some of the companies that I work with, in fact, I was one of the early employees for Salesforce.com, one of the first cloud software companies, and HR tech company like SumTotal, ClickView, and FinTech as well. And I also started two of my business technology businesses in over the last 20 years of my career. So I can provide some insights and some of the trends that what we see could potentially um, that companies like yourself can look at in the next wave. Next page. So what's happening? What are you gonna do after COVID, right? I mean, COVID will end. Right now, it doesn't seem like it will end, but it will end. It will up to a point where we have our vaccine ready. The economies will start opening up. People will start travel as usual. So what's going to happen after that? For us, we're already used to all this fact that all this with the deal with a circuit breaker and all that. So, but now companies need to start planning on what's going to happen when the economy finally open up, right? You need to start having a plan. As in, will this new future, this new economy be the same as before? Our take is no. I mean, we have spent almost one whole year conditioning people to start thinking and start innovating, force innovation, transformation. So the whole new economy, the whole new workforce behavior is going to be very, very different. So is your company ready to deal with this new economy as it opens up? Now let's take a look at a few trends that we see, right? Now a few key thing about you to deal with is first about how to deal with working from home, right? I mean, believe you have been working on this for the last 6 months to a year, so there's all these challenges about, working from home. You're distracted, the home environment might not be terribly suited for your work, right? So you have already seen that by yourself. the other challenges about having a remote workforce is that you're lacking all these face-to-face meetings. So you start thinking about technology and how to deal with all this non-face-to-face. I believe all of you attending today have non-Zoom, but I bet most of you have already opened up a Zoom account somehow, right? So these has already been dealt. These are all digital transformations itself, right? Next thing to look at is how to deal with the visibility of a workforce. Are they really working? Are employees really working from home? Now that the government mandated that at least 50% of workforce must be working from home if they can. Are they really working? How do you get some visibility on those? So these transformation has forced you to start thinking on these trends, right? So let's take a look at the trends of this space, right? First of all, the trend after COVID will be it's like offices will no longer be the same as before, right? It will probably, in a sense, if I'm for my aspect, we're thinking, do we need to fit our whole workforce in offices? Can we have them? Can we have a smaller office? Can we get our office to employees, our salespeople to do more phone sales instead of and Zoom sales instead of face-to-face meetings? So in other words, do I need such a big office space? If I don't need such a big office space, I could actually reduce my rental. And with the rental, I could with the money saved from rental, I can invest in my people. I can invest in more capable people. I can invest in training, maybe with with advance, just to train them up to learn about new technology, new thinking, new way of working. So these are all the thinking you have to deal with. What if half my workforce is outside of the office? How do you deal with that? So this will be a trend. It's going to be here to stay. Eventually, new organizations going forward will no longer be just one office, your employees all in one office working together. It'll be a mix between some people who first work in office, some people work from home, some will be in and out, maybe hot desking and so forth. It's going to stay. Next page. So one of the key accelerators for this change will be the introduction of 5G. All right. Right now, you're thinking in terms of employee, but with the introduction of 5G, it opens out a lot more opportunities. Now, you don't even need to be physically in a location to operate a machine because of the latency of 5G technology. That means once you click on a phone, for example, the same response on the receiving end will be immediate. So you can imagine you probably could even drive a car, drive a lorry, operate a time-sensitive machine through a 5G network. This is what the possibility will be. So everything that you want, let it be AI, let it be server-based computation, it can no don't you don't have to worry about the speed of the internet because with 5G it opens up all these possibility that you can tap maybe an engineer based out in maybe parts of Europe operating maybe a very sensitive medical do an operation in Singapore. All these are all possibility and the trend is going to happen much faster than we expected. So 5G will accelerate a lot of these changes in how you can even deal with a more remote workforce. Next. I mean, telecom tools is a must, right? You all should know that. You should invest into that already. You will have invest into all these communication tool, and it's going to get more rampant. In fact, nowadays you find that because of these tools, people are more uh, you can actually be actually very productive without even having to be physically together. So it doesn't really require you to have a physical office. So therefore, I mean, these are things that you need to start thinking about. Next. So the main investment that we're going to drive through is, first of all, you need to look into your systems that you have today. Your in-house systems, are they all cloud-based? So one of my CEO's first line when we say is that we are all cloud-based. All our systems are in cloud-based. For Just Login, we build it on cloud-based. When we say it's cloud-based, means it's accessible from internet. You can run mission critical. You can run your finance on the internet. You don't even need to do any software. You don't even install. You don't even really need to have a physical server running in your in your premise. So think about it. If today you still have a system, any system, let it be a critical system, I can bet you that you go out there to internet to look, you will be able to find solutions out there that has the same solution, but it's on the internet, it's on the cloud, it's on a subscription basis. And the reason, the benefit about this is that as technology evolve, these cloud-based systems will always be improved and enhanced, and you yourself will always have a system that will always grow with your needs. So you don't have to deal with all the security of having your own servers and stuff. So for those companies who are still thinking, hey, I invest in a physical machine in my office is better, I think that thinking is a bit outdated. You might want to consider moving all your cloud-based your systems into the cloud. All right, next. So one of the key things to look at as well when you start having this hybrid mix situation is that nowadays you want to have contactless clock in, right? Now, no longer biometrics, facial recognition, the AI that Kana was talking about is already built into uh, systems out there. Like for example, just login, we actually have a safe clock device that allows you to do uh, facial recognition, clock in, clock out, all by just looking at your face. And I think this will be the new era as well, because nowadays you don't want to use you don't need to use a RFID card, all right? You don't need to use a fingerprint biometric, because imagine your fingers are wet, you've just visited the restroom, come back, you can't do sensor, you'll be struggling in the door just to get your finger registered. So with all this cloud-based, it has built all this contactless clock-in. It allows you to capture a lot more data, it's real-time data, even temperature scanning is done. And with this COVID new world, companies will start to look into how to even track employee attendance through this kind of device. So if you're interested to find out more about Safe Clock, you can actually have a look at the video. So with your employees out and about, you have going out and about, dealing with all these, remote workforce, then you need to find a solution out there that is able to keep track of the attendance. So keeping track of attendance requires you to at least be able to track whether they clock in on the right time, whether they are clocking at the place that's supposed to be. If you got maybe you got 5 retail branches, you need to make sure that employees are reporting on time. You can't possibly be the same manager going to 5 places, right? So you can actually look into a solution like ours, which has ability to track all your employees at different locations and allow them to clock in and match against your roster. This all match up against your AI, facial recognition, and all that. So these are all solutions out there that you can help to look into and how to deal with all this post-COVID remote workforce, hybrid, remote workforce, in-office workforce kind of hybrid setup. Next. We also, with this as well, you will have things like, leave management is also kept track. This is similarly our leave system will allow you kept track of staff when they can be away from the office, they can still take leave. So this will be kept track on online. You can check out our Just Logins, Just Leave application that allows you to do exactly that. Next. Lastly, we can do payroll. I mean, most of you would know, if some of you are already Just Login customers, you can do remote payroll. You don't even need to give them physical pay slips anymore, right? So think about it, digital pay slips or PDFs, it can be generated online on the cloud. Next. So what's the next trend to look at, right? When you have all these set up, your systems all cloud-based, and your system is really all on the internet, you got remote workforce, you got a smaller office. What's next? Next is to think about how to make your employees more productive. So you got to make sure they're productive, they're really working, right? You want to have them working from home, but they are actually not working, they're not productive. How do you measure these remote workforce? This is something you have to look at as well, right? Next. So with all this, you have to find that HR plays a more important role. Now, HR no longer is just about doing your pay slips or payroll, right? Your HR needs to play a more proactive role. It needs to be able to be a business partner to your, you can start looking at HR as not just, I just hire an admin person just to do the job. A HR needs to start thinking with all this remote workforce, how do you first train them, right? How do you make sure they are equipped to do the job properly? How they are, can they take on 2 different roles, so that in the event the maybe their front room person, can they be trained out to do back room in case there's more heavily demand at the back? All these HR needs to start thinking, and these HR will become a strategic partner to you as a business owner or decision maker. So you have to think about that, as well as with all this data coming in, you need to be able to measure the performance of the employees. So HR becomes a really strategic component in this new world economy, because now that you're hiring people, you want to make sure that they fit your company operations properly and will be able to drive, deal with all these changes and this new gig economy. Okay, so and main thing is HR tech will be needs to be there as a tool to support the HR team in this new dimension. Okay, go. So in the market itself, where we see is that there are a lot of HR tech providers out in the market. In Singapore itself, there are almost 160 HR tech providers. All right, so we are just one piece of the many of the ecosystem. So HR being so critical in your so critical in your new organization setup, do start to look into how do you transform your business, how to digitize your business. Look in all these other solutions out there in the market. There'll be areas you can use this to measure employees, increase their productivity, and so forth. So it's never it's definitely something that you only way that we can see HR being able to cope in this new by making sure that you provide them with the right tools. Next. So one of the key things that we will also look at is, for example, we have all these employees in place. How do you give them the proper feedback? One of it is through our partner as well. Our partner Synergita actually has a performance appraisal system that's built on the cloud. You are able to give immediate feedback, give them continuous feedback, and making sure that employees are happy using, happy with your company. You can check employee morale, you can check employee performance through these tools to make sure that things that is not captured maybe through their clock in or their other metrics, you will have an ability to capture the non-tangible aspect of your employees' productivity. All right, next. So with all these employees scattered around and all this performance, you will need a place where you can also store this information, right? Just like it has a P file system that allows you to capture all this information, store it. You don't want to put it on the cloud in Dropbox. It's not organized. It's not linked to your payroll. With our HR system itself, you will be able to keep track of all your employee data on the platform. Next trend to one last trend that you tend to need to focus a little bit more is that as people start working more from home, or you got this remote workforce set up, or you got this hybrid workforce set up, you need to start thinking about employees' welfare. Okay, employee and your work is going to be blended. One moment, they should be working. Next moment, they're taking tea break. They're maybe feeding the baby. When they come back, they go back to work. So you're gonna have a lot of challenges as a HR, as a new company, dealing with employees that is going to be working from home because they'll be intertwined with all their personal activities as well. But you can't stop them, because that's one of the ways also to look at into how to retain employees, because you want to make sure that you give them the right tools to use, you give them the right setup, the right understanding even. So management had to understand that now that this new world happened, you need to figure out how to balance this. Okay, next step. So one of the key things to look at, this is going forward beyond maybe 2020, 2021, right? Now there are even things to watch out for when your employees are remote. You don't have the kind of casual interactions in the past. Now, when your employees are working from home, you find that you need to start looking out for things, indicators like stress and burnout, because tendency when you're working from home, you can work all day, all night, and just go straight to bed and wake up and work again. So, or you need to work out for overwork indicators, whether they're taking a lot of sick leave more than usual. All these information needs to be fed into HR, or fed into your decision cycle, so that you know that whether or not the employees are happy working for you. Because when you have a remote workforce or a hybrid workforce, a lot of things that you taken for granted in the past, like you can detect if the person's not happy because you see, their black face every day. But now with this remote setup, you need to figure out other ways to look into it. And there are tools out there as well. Some of the interesting technologies that's coming out in the market might not be commonly available yet. There are even tools to detect using all these smartwatches, right? All these smartwatches detect heart rate to make sure that they're not overly stressed or they are overly tired. You can actually see this data, and who knows, in the future, health tech could actually blend into HR tech as well. And I see in the horizon this could happen in a couple of years' time, where employee health tech can actually integrate into HR tech in order for you to uh, create a more wholesome employee wellness program. And the thing about this is that a lot of management will also think about, it's like with all this working from home and all this situation, but your preference will be, well, why don't I move them back in office? But the thing is that employees actually do find that working from home to be a very productive endeavor. I mean, they find that working from home actually allows them to be more flexible. Okay, saves them a lot of time. If they every day they save 2 hours for commute, um, more time with family. You actually can use this opportunity to look into how to improve the welfare of your employees, right? I mean, how to engage them. If you are successfully able to engage these people, even though they're remote or they are a dispersed workforce, you'll find that you as an organization has more to gain because you are able to adapt the business to attract a new wave of employees and new way of workers that will not be working the same way as previous generations. So when all these employees are now working from home, then you got to look into things like time tracking. You know, you see all these tools. So some of the tools that we can recommend, like Toggle, Hubstaff, even our Just Clock, we will be able to use these tools to keep track of employees, let the employees be accountable for their time, so that way you can do some time tracking as well. So with this new, the another trend to look at is that all these workers, they are heading towards what we call gig economy, on-demand economy. That means you probably in a restaurant, you might not need certain employees to be deployed at the same restaurant at the same time. So you might want to tap into maybe part-time workers to come in. But how do you manage them? There are already tools in the market to help you do all of that. So with this, you can keep track of what the movement is as well as what's the productivity like, and then you can blend it together with pay and so forth. So this will be able to give the employees the flexibility they need, and yet at the same time do your business the same justification for you to grow your business and to keep track of costs. So it's a win-win situation. Yep, next. So last thing when we talk about is that when you want to deal with employees experience, you need to figure out that the app that you invest in, the technology they invest in, needs to have a mobile element. They need to be able to do things like do all the HR functions on the mobile app as well, so that any web app that you invest in or the digitization you invest in, mobile will be a key point here. So you need to look into how to do things like, maybe for us, we have our solution is able to do clock in on the mobile. We do facial recognition on the mobile. We can put can do geofencing using the mobile. So these are all very interesting technology, and you can see your roster on the mobile even, right? And next, even you can apply leave on the mobile. Go on. You can even cancel your leave, do leave summary. You can have a personal leave calendar, and all this on your mobile device. So invest in technology that allows you to give you this, um, uh, um, I would say, this flexibility to deal with the new gig economy workers. So I've pretty much covered, what this general trend of the market will be like. I think the point is, to sum it up, you need to look into investing in cloud technology. Consider the fact that your business will no longer be the same. It's going to be a mix between hybrid and remote workers. You need to invest into a technology that looks into using your mobile devices so that your employees are able to do things on the run, or do things remotely, the right tools to use. So the question is, are you ready? Is your business ready? So today, I mean, we kind of talked about the fourth wave of industrial revolution. This is the point where you need to start thinking, because when the when the economy opens up, everyone, all the new hires they'll be looking at will be demanding, will be requiring you to have these technologies to help them. Otherwise, you can't keep them. You won't be able to keep this new wave of workers that have gotten accustomed, got a taste of what it's like to work with a very digitized environment. So, in summary, I mean, this is the COVID will, from WHO, I mean, the Director General in the W, WHO. I mean, the COVID pandemic will recede, but then I think the warning that we're going to give everybody in the room is that business will not be as usual. You will be changed. The dynamic is going to change quite dramatically. I think this time, the acceleration, the change is actually much faster than we have seen before. So I'll urge you to start looking into, start planning 6 months down, 1 year down. How are you going to change or transform your organization to deal with these changes? Okay, so I hope you feel that this session was useful. It's just a very simple sharing for everybody, and just to give you some thinking, some thoughts on how you can deal with this new change in the economy, these change in the marketplace, and once the economy open up, and hopefully should get your business ready for the next wave of changes. So I'd like to leave any Q&A at the bottom. So if there's any questions, no.
We must have been really, really clear. Not many questions.
Yeah. So yeah. So anyway, so I hope today's session will be useful for everybody. So if what's the difference between
Questions for you.
yeah I'd like to kind of answer the question. There's question out there about what's the difference between dynamic HR and just login. Um, we're not too familiar with dynamic HR. Is this another software vendor? If it's so, I mean, the main thing here about if it's another software out there, um, is another software, cloud-based software out there. Everyone has the thing about cloud-based solutions out in the market. Everyone has a different angle or different way they design the solution. So when it comes to differences between software A and software B, it's very hard for us to kind of tell you that we're going to fit everybody's case, or every software will fit your needs. You probably need to spend a little bit of time. And the good thing about these cloud-based systems are very easy to evaluate, because half the time you can actually ask for online demo. You can actually get them to sit down with you just to go through the process, right, to whether it suits your need. And the benefit of cloud-based systems or any other software, cloud-based software, is that the switching in and switching out cost is very low. Right, you can get on the system very quickly, maybe a couple of days. If it doesn't suit you, maybe a couple of months, it doesn't work out, you can always switch out again. And most of the time, it's because it's subscription business. So that is not like a traditional software. We need to install a server and run it. That is not the way to go anymore, because end up you'll be stuck with a system that you invested heavily on, even the hardware on. It's very difficult to switch out. So have a think. If cloud-based systems are the way to go, and there's many out there, feel free to evaluate.
Well, there's one question I think I'll take. The question is, what are the possible black swans which might derail trends towards greater digitalization, not digitization, two different things which we also cover in the class. Even there's an entire section where I talk about it, what can go wrong. So the beginning part of the presentation, I said digitizing is now not the same as digitalizing, right? And then a lot of people think that if I put in like an SAP system, for example, that's digitalization. It's not. Integrating systems and trying to make things work together it's not digitalization. And so we're talking about overall, when you look at your organization end to end, how are you going to ensure, or how are you going to work towards increasing your efficiency to a point whereby you're going to be able to build a UCD. I call it UCD, a unique competitive differentiator for your business. At the same time, increase the efficiency with respect to cost, productivity. So those KPIs, which I mentioned in my step 7 of digitalization or digital transformation model, that is an important step. So other thing which can typically go also wrong is lack of alignment. If everyone needs to be aligned, which is why training is one way of doing that, right? So if from the top to bottom, even there's one layer which is not aligned with the digital transformation, I have seen failed projects. And I think we would have studied, there's an Ernst& Young and Accenture study which talks about how a lot of digital transformation fail because of lack of alignment. So I think everybody needs to understand, everybody needs to speak the same lingo, the same jargons. People need to be comfortable when you, only then, when you start implementing, people will be aligned and they will support it. Otherwise, no point even starting on it. So alignment, super important. But of course, there are other black swans, but I think not enough to get everyone swimming across in front of us. I think we have more questions coming up.
Yeah, Kanan, I'd like to add maybe a few things to that, right? You're gonna have implementing even a cloud-based system is still implementing a system. So though it may be easy to onboard something, I think it takes the will of an organization to make these transformation happen properly. And I think a lot of times people tend to think that, hey, I'll buy a system, here's go, like it costs maybe $10, but let's invest $0 on training, or let's invest $0 on proper onboarding. I think the point here is that when you bring out a system, you need to invest both management time, alignment as well with the rest of the to make sure that everyone's clear that this system is critical to your organization, and you need to find a way to enforce it so that everybody uses the system properly. If you don't have proper data and system, a project will just die off its slow death. So bear in mind that implementing a system is still a system. So try when you in your digitalization journey, don't bite off more than you chew. Take one project at a time, be deliberate about it, and do it well, so that you can see the transformation and give it some time to digest within the organization. Don't try to rush into like 3 projects at once. In most cases, I don't see this, or just I'll just find somebody in my staff and say, hey, just implement this, and I'll just walk away. And 3 months later, no, the project will not go anywhere. So it takes a lot more deliberate alignment to make sure that it's successful. Okay. I guess any other questions for anybody? Okay, so I guess if there's no other questions, appreciate we can get some feedback from you, so that if you like to, you fill out your feedback form, and we'll send you the PowerPoints and a presentation, the recording. So if not, then I think thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you everybody,
Have a
and
good evening.
have a good evening. Bye
Take care.
bye.